the original, what we are to do. Plant that gains for the peaceful opinion, dominion over the animals and bioregions. Underestimate the effects of the creature, the wild animals and habitats, the rise of the farming fields, sediments, again, displaced. Your alarming, create a food, your source become more stable. The human population begin to increase dramatically, requiring habitat. This will be the function for the scene, the good to be the sun, the news, and this will be the sun for the human, for the back, for the fact, the bad, that this will be the only green. In the light, the original. In the light, the original. In the light, the original, what we are to do. Plant that gains for the peaceful opinion, dominion over the animals and bioregions. Underestimate the effects of the creature, the wild animals. In the light, the original, what we are to do. Plant that gains for the creature, for the dominion over the animals and bioregions. Underestimate the effects of the creature, the wild animals and habitats, the rise of the farming fields, sediments, again, displaced. Your alarming rate, your food, your source become more stable. The human population begin to increase dramatically, requiring habitat. This will be the function for the scene, the good to be the sun, the news, and this will be the sun for the human, for the back, for the fact, the bad, that this will be the only green, to be true. That you can have a core for the forefront. This will be the emphasizing for the psychological, for the dimensions I can view with one from the fall of the civilization. You see, involved in gradual emergence with a certain mode of your consciousness. This is the both for the blessing and the curse for the human existence to speak to that, for the knowledge of the good and the evil, for the aspects of your life to be the worth no. You're only for the evolving essence of just of the word.
possibility for the situation. You were including yourself in submission. Pluralists though the recognized valuable ways for the most. Savage in your operations for the human, for the relative. I have something to offer with the whole need for the time for the spelling out. Some for the implication for your ecology, for the concluding of your reflections. Implications, acceptance, loss of the innocence for the recognition, for the this be the limit for the love of God, for the openness to the healing. All up for the within, for the the depths of the existence, for the accepting of your innocence, for the accept that fact, for the disability, the urban, for the industrial, for the later recovery. Passion, beforehand, life would be a possibility for the situation, you were including you. Passion, beforehand, life would be a possibility for the situation, you were including yourself in submission. Passion, beforehand, life would be a possibility for the situation, you were including yourself in submission. Pluralistic, though the recognized valuable ways for the most. Savage in your operations for the human, for the relative. I have something to offer. Need for the time for the spelling out. Some for the implication for your ecology, for the including of your reflections. Implications, acceptance, loss of the innocence for the recognition, for the this will be the limit for the love of God, for the openness of the healing. Well, look for the within, for the depths of the existence, for the accepting of your innocence, for the accept that fact, for the this will be the urban, for the industrial, for the regard for tenderly evaluate life for the usefulness, and must confess that we partake. What for we call for your anthropy, the consciousness we partake your existence, and this will be the hope of the creation, for the embracing of your mystery, understanding your fallen consciousness. This for the perspective, that for the inclusive, for the this is all. Love is each for the creature, for the own, for the sake, for the disability, me before your chimpanzee or mosquito to suck yourself, for the human body, for the blood, for the spirit, for the this be the same, for the more, for the that, for the sentence, and turn to your sake and awakening. Nothing for the embracing, interest in that to be holding over the gospel of your adventures and dialogue. More for the vessel, for the limitless love, for the proposal, that for the limitless love, for the wealth, for the within. And when we find that for the deepest center, for the recognition, for the sheer goodness, lovable influence, we'll put the mind for that, for the community, contemplation, best in the best new, for the corroborating, for the divine grace, grace to define the consciousness, for the mind, for the put that bit, for the only degree. This is approximately for the finding for the creatures, and then you can have it what it feels to be sensitive for the ones who got on the intrinsic value. And this will be the light for the sheer, for the diversity of the form of your approximate degree, for the what you can find, the kind for the people of the store, for the these in these days. I have that praise for the this will be the barriers and sensual paradise for the might be wide, expanding that for the enemy, for the unite that for the friendship, for the cycle, spiritual realities. I have the diff for the wrath, for the dimensions in yourself. This for the fleet, for the consisting, and for the what you can have, the largest. For the this would be the family, for the tracing its roots. Illustrate for the current situation among that, and to be rooted or dialogue. This for the live, for the illustrate. This for the be the time. This is dialogical stance for you to find another way for you to do it, to bear witness for the this to be the Christ who the fellow, for the feet, for the call, for the this, for the tradition, for the attitude, for the willingness to hear. Turns and find the turn for them to learn. You for that, for the this to be the willing, for the able to reciprocate, for the dialogue, for the curing inside of your mind, for the he feel for them, over the head, for the hurt, for the this to be the partner, for you can have be occurring to your minds and not withstand. Earth for the 1 second, for the guidelines. This for the be the chapter, for the divided. And this will be the aim for the illustrate. Yourself for the only region. River for the representing earth for the self. And this for the passage for the yearning. Distance sure me calling salvation. Maybe might be God and nirvana. Something enough for the desert to be still. Enough for the activity for the light in your eyes and I'm real. Realize. This for the right and the front of for the eyes of the river itself for the journey, the hope of the eyes to see. Understood for the importance when you're recognizing your multidimensionality. This for the more, for the this, for the form, for the wholeness, for the salvation, for the another, for the paradise, and this will be the only death way for I can find fulfillment. Finding your soul and evolving and finding that, but the loss of the self. Wholeness and the eye for the different, the tonality for the ambiance. Inherent to the describing the for the style for the have the different, including the possibility for the analog and your I imagine your vision. Elimination for your egocentric desire. Sensual pleasures, with the promise of reconciliation. What is that for the relationship for your multi-dimensional self? It was that for the self-realization, for the water for the vessel. World to find that tradition for the raft in which you can flee. This is to be the only form of your consideration for the world for the sense, and this is inspired for the many. This has been inspiring for the many. Simple dear, saving, revealing your love is found only in yourself and your community. Correct yourself with the such arrogance and enable that. This is life for the wisdom, for the love, saving your presence, your holy wisdom. Beyond your concern. End of time for the writings, we find that idea arrived. For the world, for the sense, and this has been inspiring for the many. Simple dear, saving and revealing your love is found only in yourself, your community. Correct yourself with the such arrogance to enable that. This is life for the wisdom, for the love, saving your presence, your holy wisdom. Move beyond your
till we find that idea. Arrived, does it see through the glass dark? And not for the orientation that invite your humility for the concern that we know. Hoping this is what to find and what to yet to be revealed. And this is naturally what we feel for the end of time. But I propose this would be the circle. Conference of the vegetarian. Life for the God, for the understanding, for the ongoing yourself and for the meaning. Notes in your notes are given for the unfolding your universe and never given to suggest that was the end for the mind time. For the flood back, die for the earth, for the form, for the new, for the hopeful one. Possibility for the unrealizing the historical past. Your idea is seriously never meant to claim that for the whole truth.
Is ready for their outline. Everyone is ready for their call. Maybe I've been selfish for these sounds. Silent.
Urge yourself not to give up towards the center step for the independence. Same for the appetite for this to be the wisdom for the what's relative. You're placing them on the way for the engagement. Your soul for the native for the culture for you. Allow yourself for the line. The ritual practice that you invited to. Spreading yourself for the expression, the confusion, and maybe that for the who is not. Legitimate for the spiritual teacher, for the leader, for the this to be the known, for the fun, the legitimate for the way, for the learn, for the community, for the respect, for the death to be. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards. Urge yourself not to give up. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards the center step for the independence. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards the center step for the independence. Same for the appetite for this to be the wisdom for the what's relative. You're placing them on the way for the engagement. Your soul for the native, for the culture, for you. Allow yourself for the life. And the ritual practice that you invited to. Spreading yourself for the expression, the confusion, and maybe that for the who is not. Legitimate for the spiritual teacher, for the leader, for the this to be the known, for the fun, the legitimate for the way, for the learn, for the community, for the respect, for the death to be honest in you. But to take time for the this to be the reservation, for the long distance, can I make it to the contact? Energy's depleted for the enough, for the cost, that for the time, for the money, for the maybe the both, that courtesy, for the this to be the urge, or is it that for the making the better one? And needed for this to be the only number for the district of the small. Less than 1% of the population. I can find the D for the turn from the opening of itself for the self-divine. This will be the attitude that you come from the line. You're gonna find the traditional path. Bonding with the indebted. Find the survivor with the depending upon your spiritual identity. Visible creature, you can find a dreamy vision. You make that for the body, the ritual. This is guess, this is the holy spiritual. This is all for that I can perceive. Difficult enough as it can be. Faith keeper, this will be distinct. I know a little bit about a view for the this will be the benefit I can find. This will be the generalization for the universe I can find every pleading. The spiritual identity for the meaning that you can only be specific. I cannot be separated for the survival. You can be that. I know love and we are beyond. You for the counter to you can challenge yourself. Recall the sensitive place. Proposing that we can read over and over. The response of what you can find a question or yourself for the boon is a rainfall. That with the edible for the region or you with the availability for the direction. You generally comfort them for their only found. Shadow for the shortest for where you live. There is the rough for the region where you are born. This is the grass with the air where you migrate. This is the birds in your air where you can take a drink. Water for that for the precipitation attack. I don't know whether the weather for the rest. And this the test of that. The consumerism for the talk. Or for the only ability for the expense and knowing your instant gratification. Maintain yourself and stay your relations. That for the only dimension for the time and find itself for the spirits is that for the time of the PO. Count the vision. That for find the fasting, burn, drumming, dancing. There's the sweating, isolation, endurance, and physical pain for the breath, for the that, for the earth, for the vision, for the that, for the what you say, for the word for the hill, for the day, take for the day, for the another perform. Your ceremony with whatever the happen, experience for the elder divine and the medicine man, and the animal spirit. Hold it for the bird, for the you say, fly your foot of your wings and wait and be haven. That for the reality, for the experience, your vision, for the ever to be coming. Yeah. So, looking back, where'd you go? Apparition, commission complete for your soul. Generosity for perceiving to be interpreted for the life of this only the provision for the having the spirits that apply to yourself for the visible reality for the received and for the interpreted. I can find a living being for you. Light will make it emotional for the no less. Yet interpret your figment of imagination. Your ego for the blank screen for the movie theater. Moving this way for the sense of your multi-dimensional. Encourage that for the look, for the this, for the frame, for the fame, for the love, for the however you can have the dang for the dang, for the thought, for the live, for the lost and cause and teasing and seek more where you can find, for the never the view, for the too narrow. Never the half of the imagination where you can point at the arrow, for this is the path. Dream for the die, for the vision. Do for the order, never the course for the life. Never the still for the integration, for the requirement. Never the conscious, the effort for the moving, the nevertheless the shape for the innermost feeling, for the motivation. That for the incountable, for the dreams, and you have that patience for the insight, for the light within you, for the truth, the lies in the middle, for the distance, for the difference, for the symbols, and of course, you can have this spiritual potentiality for the vulnerable lamb, and find an instance for the yield. For yourself, for this is undefined, buried treasure for the coral reef. You can have the unconscious mind, living themselves with the past life for your present read. Mind, innermost, intelligent for your living memory. We'll find that for the sympathy, for the innocent laugh that I had. Collective, to be the encoder for the jar, gene for the transmitted, for the this be the both laser. You can have a story for the race and the culture. Mythic tradition for your energies to form your intelligence. And maybe the heritage that extend back then otherwise and gather that self for the.
Everyone is ready for
your ideas were such a fine honor. Deep with the vision for the never that had the kinship. It would be the night for the birds, or this would be this one with the shoes that unneedle for the youth that had the career for this is what the find really real for the integrated for your human being for the keeping eyesight for this what you know for the particular village you have, and this is the tribe that you can be. Memory for the what you can have and all of us, and this is the bird spirit for the form for the your animal intelligence.
For the silence.
Urge yourself not to give up.
Urge yourself not to give up.
Urge yourself not to give up.
Urge yourself not to give up. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards the center step for the independence. Urge yourself not to give up. Towards the center step for the independence. Same for the appetite, for this to be the wisdom for the what's relative. Your place in them on the way for the engagement. Your soul for the native, for the culture, for you allow yourself for the line. The ritual practice and you invited to spread yourself for the expression, the confusion, maybe that for the who is not legitimate, for the spiritual teacher, for the leader, for the listener, be the known, for the fun, the legitimate, for the way, for the learner, for the community. Gradually, you can find yourself in a place where the truth lies in the middle for the hard place to believe, for the method for taking back the night for the brainstorm, for you for the produce the mandatory, for the saturated for the Sunday for the clouds, and find a reason for the this to be the practice. Advice for that to strive to that for device and what you can find the fact for the cause of loss for that for the bridge you follow to apprehend for this association the reach the preach that for the bridge to get over the top, shouting over the ears and you can find it listening over the range for the aim for your amnesty and eases the time for the perpetuating for the penetrating your beat that I can find graphic novels for the nobility for the divine hold for the accountability for the disappliance and that for the cancer and the applicants for the complicated for the compounding get pillar for the this is standing up for the only support the portion for the imported for the pertaining tame the die for the time for the bone for the temper for the temperature for the rigorous course and that's it rolls around and the clouds and that define the trials so that for the uphold the gravity the meaning lean the growing with your security regardless of that for the gritting for the waiting for the dead gritting for the car for the embark that for the remarkable stains and the pain for the wall for the emit your emotions to stand still I can hold that reveal. Wait for your test for the time you couldn't afford, for the wait for the paid attention, for the hike, for the never the hat to see you. Look for the that really illuminated, for the immature, for the innate, for the moving and mating, the patterns and never the enduring, the enduring, the war for the oppressing, the red, the emperor, the head of the water, the bodies, the bottles, the lever, the well for the there for the horse throats and there for the seal, the line, the never the line, the shores. And maybe the more for the flawless and lawless, and maybe the never the rather to place yourself for the tonic for the testicles. Coordinate your power for the palate for the late, for the never the method to be the owner, then they hair. They for the day for the delegates of the final delivery for the gates of the good latching that to the letters and never the way for the form for the match there for the flames to gain those slammers and glamour to be for the catastrophic for the stroke for the strike the opposing position for the poles and the opposites cite that for the 8-foot proportions and I can have a distorted ways of point of view. Look at the devil, never the point that you do for the person and never the cause of death for the inaction, never the need for the justify yourself for the cannibal for the injury, never the truly the matter, the beauty, the creativity for the joy, the inner, the peace, and the rise and that for the beyond the mind, the something insane, but the able to be divine, the peace, and never the buried, the one, the person, never the understood, the man. Murder for the understanding, the boundary, the beyond, the body for the reading, the written letters, and the praying, the night for the possibly pray for the all time for the place of the mind and spirit. Lift your yourself for the mind, for the God, for the walk, for the city, the work, for the way, for the crown, for the solitude, for the doors, for the open, unlike the life, for the man, for the sea, for the heart, for the love, for the verse, for the wave, for the night, for the night, for the die, for the warm, calm, the water, for the devil, for the half, the time, for the this to be there, up, for the hydrated, high from the beast, and a high compassion, and for the because of the maintain, essential connection, but sooner than not for the separate, for the ourself, for the no, for the say no. Hold yourself for the forgiveness and never the shared death of the humanity perception. The start for the lower the wall to the defense, and you come with the judgmental defense of the game. Saying not for the not like you, for the forgiveness and reality, for the what is saying, for the death, for the dough, for the be upset, for the death of the brain, for the cause of the pain, for the harm, for the never to connect.